Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Grid, and in this video I want to take a look at the various replay options we have in The Sims today. Now, I didn't want to go through all the games, but simply focus on the ones that I like for various purposes. This is really to showcase a feature in games that might get overlooked, but for content creators is such an important tool. It is also something I use regularly to better my track performance, so, right, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so the first game we're going to take a look at is Assetto Corsa. One of my favorite content creators, and I'm sure many others for video editing, is Chris Hay. I think he does an amazing job of setting the mood in his videos and makes you appreciate the beauty of the cars and tracks featured. So let's take a look at what the core game has to offer without using third-party controls, because there's definite options out there to give you a lot more freedom with what you're doing. So if we take a look at, the replay interface, so basically you have all the standard things. So save, replay, rewind, stop, play, fast forward, and you can obviously speed it up, slow it down, and then you can go individually by doing 2 times, 4 times, and if we just kind of scroll through the different camera views. So let's stop it there. And now I'm going to switch to camera static, and it'll just give you kind of the car moving rather than following the car. So you can see there that it's got a really interesting kind of perspective from it, and I really like that one. So once we go over to camera TV2, what we'll notice is that it's got like a nice slow pan to it. The more control you can get, and as we go through some of these sims, you'll see, and I'm not going to do all the sims, but I'll do just a few of the standout ones. For the camera angles and for the features, it's very kind of basic, but yet you can still get a lot of interesting perspectives from it, just simply, allowing the game to do what it does best, and that's show you those replay angles. So I'm going to scan through a few different cameras while we're watching this. What's great when you have things like the custom shaders patch and Sol installed, it just makes it endless what you can do with your videos, and everything looks so much better. So let's move on. In our next game, this is ACC, which is a really nice evolution of Assetto Corsa. And what I mean by an evolution is that the game itself can provide you with some really great replay views with a minimal amount of user input. So let's quickly take a look at the control panel. So from left to right, obviously we have the quick replay, you have reverse mode, toggle the HUD, you can jump 5 seconds back, jump 5 seconds forward, play pause button, playback speed, change the car, and then change the camera angle, which looks very familiar if you're coming from AC, but there's a few things that make this game stand out when it comes to replays. And I think one of the things with Assetto Corsa Competizione is that it can give you some of the most immersive points of view in any game out there. A couple of the things that I really enjoy about this game is that they have markers for laps, which is perfect because if you remember something that happened in, say, lap 7, you can quickly jump to lap 7. So now I'm just going to hit play and I'll take you through some of the controls really quickly. So if we press play and hit the 5 second, we can jump forward 5 seconds, jump forward another 5 seconds. And it's nice we have on our timeline here the counter. If we have the playback speed, we can also go slow by a 0.75, by half, by a quarter. And so if we want to go back up to regular speed and then increase it, we can go to 4 times, 5 times individual points. So it can really have a nice fine control over the game. From here, we can obviously swap through the different cars, much like AC and much like any other game. What I really like about Assetto Corsa is some of the really interesting camera angles like this here. So I'm going to scroll through the camera angles at a static point just so we can see what each one of those look like. So this is the reverse cam. This is the dashboard cam. This is the driver cam, which is one of the ones that I really enjoy using because it shows you how much detail there is in the game. And 2, it can give you some really kind of cool shots when you're trying to create a video or even just looking at replays. Obviously here, this is the passenger side a little further back, and this is the cockpit view 1, so to speak, cockpit view 2 without the wheel. As we go through here, this is the bonnet view. This is, I believe, the helicopter or the chopper view, trackside camera. They give you some really great views to play with. So what I'll do is I'll hit play and we'll just watch how these different angles can provide you with some really interesting content. I don't know, this is for me, what's that hashtag, oddly satisfying. I just love watching this camera angle. All right, let's quickly jump to the chopper view, because chopper view is one that I really like to use. Okay, let's quickly pause that, and we're just going to go from here through the different camera angles, and we'll let this play a little bit more. It's kind of a trackside static cam. That's the slow pan. And it'll just basically cycle through the different camera views. But if you want to have a very specific one like this, can, using this and adding some filters in post-production, like whenever you're using a video editing software, I use Final Cut Pro to do most of my stuff because it's the one I'm most comfortable with. But when you're using something like this and you get some, just get some really good shots, get some good angles, especially if there's any action on the track, if there's an accident or anything. I think there was something that happened right about there. So let's kind of go back through the cars and we'll try and play this out a bit. I can see it happening there. Let's cycle back through the cars right here. I think that's the, yeah. So if we do that, let's just kind of reverse. So if we play, we can hit reverse, just kind of find out the right part. And we'll just hit it again right there. Let's pause it there. So let's put this in play. And we'll try and find the right camera angle. Maybe this might work. Yeah, see, just that alone, that kind of camera angle there is perfect to get some, just a good action shot if you want. So we just pause it there. Let's get it where he's, and I think this one will give us a really good shot. So let's try this and we'll increase the speed a little bit and then slow it right down. There you can see you got the little tap. And got thrown out. So, I mean, you can spend a lot of time playing around with replay and trying to get the right angle. So what I usually do is I'll get the shot that I want. I'll hit record on Streamlabs or whatever it may be that you're using to record and just record those clips. So I don't sit and record the whole thing. I'll record the things that I find interesting and then I'll just title those as clips like T1 accident or T1 incident or whatever it may be. Just title them and just keep those as archives. So replay systems can be fun and you can get a lot of really cool, interesting things out of it as long as you just spend a bit of time with them. And depending on the game, you'll see as we get further through them, some of the games can provide you with some really good control and others are just very limited. All right, so let's kind of put this back up to regular speed and I'm just going to cycle through the different camos. There with chopper view. And I'll just quickly stop it there. What's really good about this though is when you're using chopper view or overhead camera, anything like that, where you can have a distant view from it, it's really good to be able to see your line that you're taking through the track and figure out, where you're losing time or where you're going a little too tight. So aside from creating content, it's great for learning how you can be better on the track. Right, so for Automobilista 2, the interface or the user control panel is quite similar to what was in Project Cars 2, for that matter. And it still probably needs a bit of tweaking and a bit of updating, but these are your slow-mo buttons here. So if you're pressing it once or twice or 3 times, it's going to give you a slow factor by 2, by 4, whatever it may be. It would be nice if these icons had a bit of text in it. As far as camera angles, you really only have what you see here. So there's only one trackside camera right now. It's a bit clunky and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So I think it's not something that has been optimized yet. I think it's probably going to, work on this at one point and we'll get a better, more intuitive interface, hopefully. So you'll see as they come up the hill, like you can see that like blur effect to it. So it's got a cinematic feel to it, which is nice. Like this is a really nice camera angle here that it gives you. But if I pause it there and I just hit this once and I go twice and I go 3 times, it's slowing it down more and more, but it's not telling you like ×2, ×3 or -2, -3. Pause and we're back into normal. Okay. And then again, if we use the outer buttons here, you'll see this will speed it up. which if you have tinnitus, don't do that. And so we'll put this back to normal speed, but I'll show you if we cycle through these cameras. So if we go from cockpit, it's usually your standard onboard cameras, chase, onboard, roof, bonnet, trackside. So trackside is really the only option you have. I mean, if you click it, it just seems to kind of get lost. So you have to go back to all and then hit trackside again. It'll kind of line up. Got that nice little camera shake effect to it. So the trackside camera is really well done. It's just, I think it'd be nice to have a bit more features. We'll let this just kind of play out and take a look at another game. All right, so in Formula One 2020, this is kind of an odd one because as you see here, you have pretty much full controls of the replay. And you can, obviously switch between the views, camera views. You can switch between the drivers. Now, I actually had to go through and do a 3-lap race on Bahrain Short just because I wanted to do it quickly. Because the problem is I actually can't save. I can't save the replay. It'll save a highlight. But the difference is you'll see once I back out and go into the highlight mode, is I don't actually have the option to go through and adjust these camera angles and adjust the driver view and things like that. The only things I do have control of is play. You can get rid of the interface. Obviously, that's right. And you can go forward or backwards. So if you play, this obviously plays in regular mode and you can just speed it up and go back. Or if you want to be able to go in slow-mo, I'm using a controller right now just because it makes it a lot easier. So I can go through in slow mode or backwards just by slightly pressing in the trigger. I like the analog style of it that I can really control and speed it up. The only problem is because I can't save this replay, I lose options as far as the camera view that I want. So if I'm going through the different, camera view, this is obviously on board and this is the trackside view. So we'll let this play out for a second. And I can, hit pause and I can go in and do a slow-mo like this, which allows me to really, kind of set the mood and set the ambience for it. Go back to play a normal view and then hit pause again. And I have to keep my hand in on the trigger. But really, this is the only cinematic view or the trackside view camera angle that you do have. This is great. It would be nice to be able to save and be able to have this. I have nowhere to be able to save. So if I press the start button, there's nowhere I can save my replay here. What I'm going to do is let's just quickly jump out of here and I'm going to go because this highlight has been saved. Here we are in the theater mode. So it basically saves your last 3 races here. And then you can save your saved highlights. So it keeps it there. You can obviously export video if you want to choose to do that, which saves a file that you can use. Let's go in here and I'll show you what I mean. So let's go into Bahrain Short, the race we just did. As you can see, I've lost my 2 controls to be able to change driver and to be able to change the view. So really, I'm at the mercy of just letting this play out. And if we just hit pause, obviously I can do my slow-mo and reverse. Those are still there. The only thing is if I want to change camera angles or if I want to have a different point of view to be able to create a nice edit for with my recording software, I can't do that. So it is kind of odd that they haven't given you the opportunity to, 1, save the full replay with the full controls. Also to be able to, have those 2 options in highlight mode. Yeah, so that's F1 2020. I mean, it just lacks the full control over what's going on in the replay. So, all right. Another replay system that I really like and I really enjoy, even though it's quite old, it's still in its most simplistic form, gives you a lot of control over how you can manage and how you can manipulate the replay system. So this is Racer and Racing Experience, if you haven't guessed it already. And this is the control panel. So basically in the control panel, there's your camera types that you hear that you can switch between just different points of view on the track, between car views, which I really like. These are the onboard cameras. This is this director view, which is currently in, which basically you just watch and let the game take control over all the different views. And here in film mode, when you select this, you'll see you start to get a little bit more control in, switching between the different drivers that are on the grid and obviously selecting back to player. But what I like is the fact that you can skim through really quickly any part of the race that you want to, where in some games you have to fast forward and you wait till you get to the end. Obviously Assetto Corsa allows you to kind of skip through that, but some games like Formula One, I believe we just looked at, that you can't really just skip through. You have to fast forward it. So the other thing I like is that they have the pan controls. So when you're in, say, for example, in director mode or whatever you want to call it, there's no actual titles to these, but when you're in that mode, you can actually, control by just, say, for example, you can zoom in, zoom out, there's all different kinds of things you can do with it. So let's start here with the car focus. So basically, if I hit this, I'm back to the player view. So this is my car. And if I kind of scroll through this, I can scroll through any car on the grid. Very basic, very simple. If I hit the director mode, as I said at the beginning, this is basically letting the game do everything. The second you hit any one of these camera pan controls, it automatically goes into film mode. What I really like in this game is that when you hit these car views, you get some really nice shots from the side, from the back, from the tire view. It gives you a lot of nice different perspectives. So you can create some really interesting cinematic feel to it. And so if I let this play out, let's just kind of let this go. And I'm just going to control this in the meantime. As I kind of skip through this, you can see it's really interesting camera views. And I really like that. So obviously here, this is in the pit lane. These are the standard on-board camera views. And then if I go back to the director view, it's just, I basically have no control. I can stop, play, slow-mo, fast forward. When it comes to, flexibility in it, say, for example, I'm in director mode here, and I just let this play out. Let's go into slow-mo. I can, pan around. I'm going to go up a little higher. If I want to zoom out, I can get a kind of an interesting angle from there. And so that's one of the systems I really enjoy this. Obviously, you can go into photo mode, which will just take a picture of it. There's no controls as far as, filters and things like that. It's just take a photo. And again, some of the ones that I really love, if you're hitting this, you go into slow mode. That's a really nice view. So for somebody, content creators, somebody who wants to make some interesting, film and interesting race shots, I think Race Room does a really nice job of giving you a lot of control within the game. And that's the one thing I really like about it, is the fact that you don't really have to have any third-party apps or third-party add-ons. It's all controlled within the game. For example, if you're looking at Assetto Corsa, you could use things like Cam Tool and Joy-Cam, and these things give you a little bit more extra control compared to what the game gives you. But I find overall, Race Room does a really nice job of giving you the controls that you need. You can really start off using this, and it's a pretty good system. So anyway, so that's Race Room racing experience. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at a great tool the Sims provide us. As mentioned, I always love using replays just for pure entertainment value, but also as a tool to learn a track, how I can better my performance on a track, and of course to make great intro, outro, and B-roll video. The replay system is so essential, and hopefully as games evolve, we get more innovative features. As always, I truly appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you guys again really soon. Take care.